Welcome back to Inside Personal Growth. This is Greg Voisin, the host of Inside Personal Growth. And joining me from Denver, Colorado is Laurie Seymour with the Baca Institute. And I know Laurie through Kathy Sparrow, who is assisting me in a book project we're working on called Life on the Precipice. And we connected and we started talking, and Kathy said to me, hey, it'd probably be a good idea to interview Laurie. So Laurie, good morning to you in Denver. How are you?
I am wonderful, Greg. I am glad to be here with you.
Well, we're glad to have you and an opportunity to speak about what you do, how you do it, and how you can help those people that are listening today. And I'm going to let the listeners know something about you. Two-time international #1 best-selling author, host of the Wisdom Talk radio podcast, executive coach, international trainer, and speaker. Laurie is the founder and CEO of the Baca Institute. She's dedicated her life to showing you how to reliably connect with your energetic, creative intelligence, or what she refers to as the source, dissolving old patterns of difficulty, struggle, and self-sabotage. Almost 25 years ago, she was honored to receive stewardship of special energetic technology and accelerates the process of connection and creation in individuals and groups. After twice leaving successful careers, first as a psychotherapist and trainer, and then as a solutions engineer in telecom, Laurie founded the Baca Journey to honor the 25-year of inner research she and a small group of people had done to exploring human potential through activating new energy systems. Well, Laurie, it's a pleasure having you on Inside Personal Growth, and it's a pleasure to speak with you about what it is you do. And for our listeners, we will put a link to this, but it is the bacainstitute.com. So that's BACA Institute, INSTITUTE.com. And there you can learn more. It's a lovely website. And there's a lot of ways to get in touch with Laurie and interact with her. So, Laurie, I told the listeners a little bit about why you did the Baca Institute. What do you do at the Baca Institute, and how can you help our listeners really who are seeking with, maybe having some of these struggles that you're talking about, old patterns and difficulty struggling with self-sabotage, which seems to be a pretty typical thing in the world. So can you give us an idea?
Certainly. I hope so. So let's elevate that for a moment, if we can, to not so much focus on what the problems are, but what do people want? People want more freedom, more time freedom, particularly, more money, let's say, better, more clarified clients, greater success in what they're doing, and maybe even that want or desire to bring your great idea into the world and have it really be something that impacts people. And so the Baca Institute is the place for being able to do that, for being able to reach those places. Because when you are connected with your own inner guidance system, and I know we're going to talk about that at length, then what happens is you're not operating out of the old operating system, which is really what we've been trained in our lives. We were trained in a very linear way. This is about bringing in that creative intelligence, which is how we connect with the quantum universe, how we are able to make quantum leaps, so that what we do is we get peace of heart, we get clarity, we are able to focus. And what happens then is that you attract to you those things that you really want, that time, freedom, that money, more success in your business.
Well, some people take a spiritual path, while other people who might be listening might be agnostic. But in essence, the terminology, the way in which you describe it, it is about getting a deep relationship, in the way I look at it, with kind of a higher self, a higher calling, something, your intuition. You know, I wrote a whole book on intuition, so I understand that. You work with entrepreneurs and visionaries. These are people that are achievers, high achievers, most of them. And in a recent interview, I looked at the side that Marshall Goldsmith talked about, regret, all the way on the other side, which is happiness and joy and meaning and purpose, and that we go through this continuum, right? How do you help these achievers that you're working with, these visionaries and conscious entrepreneurs, find this quantum connection?
Okay. Can I first start by saying you don't have to be a spiritual person or a believer, because what we're really talking about, we're talking about the quantum field. We're talking about the research that the quantum physicists have been doing for decades now and have established the fact that, one, everything is energy, and two, that we live in a quantum field. We are part of this quantum universe. And without going too much into that, when we understand that we have an innate intelligence, then we get to, we really have to explore, what does that mean? How do we connect with that? How do we live from that? How do we
How
learn to
do
rely on it?
how do people who come to you who have no understanding of this
Mhm.
find an acceptance of it?
They usually, if they have no a capacity to even, wrap their head around that, they usually don't come to me,
Mm,
or
okay.
they don't stick around, or they start having an experience. They start having experiences that they never had before. And for them to begin with, they're inexplicable experiences. I mean, they start attracting things to them that they say, well, how did that happen? Oh, that was luck. Well, when it starts happening over a period of time and it's consistent, you're going beyond luck. You've
Mhm.
moved into something where you're really operating differently. So I work with the people who are open to exploring something new, that know that we are so much more than we have ever been shown how to work with. We are so much more than what our 8th grade teacher taught us about.
Right. Well, those are those patterns that you talk about in your bio where
Mhm.
people get stuck because they're, no matter what it is, it's the ego to move beyond that, or to move
Mhm.
beyond these beliefs, these limiting beliefs that they're carrying around,
Mhm.
that get them caught in the fences, I call it, you know.
That's a great way to put it.
So, if my fence is here and somebody else's is here, and if you're willing to expand, um, uh, I'm going to say your willingness to look at the world, your perception of the world is what you're really asking. You
Mhm.
have an opportunity to explore that. And you get out of your comfort zone. And one of those is getting out of those comfort zones, because
Mhm.
we're in them. Now, you stated in your bio that over 20 years ago, you were honored to receive the stewardship of special energetic technology that accelerates the process of abundant creation in individuals and groups. You
Mhm.
speak with our listeners about the special technology and what this was all about?
Yes, it is something called Turea. Turea was brought through by my teacher, who I studied with for until her passing, for over 25 years. And we can talk about it in these grand spiritual terms, but we don't need to, because it's almost like the implementation of an app. And that's, from a very simple level of how we connect with that energetic reality of the universe. So my work is, because I was initiated as this steward, as you said, of this technology, my work is about opening people up to activate that inner wiring that's already there in place. It's there in the cells. And we just need to have that activated so that we can start using what our original blueprint really is.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Mm-hmm.
so much more to us than we've ever really recognized. And when that's activated, when you start to have when you start to practice, when you start to learn how to use it, when you start to recognize what's coming into you from the universe, from this quantum field, that you're being that those awarenesses are being activated, and you're being shown almost from the inside out how to make use of them, how to tap into it, and then how to decode what that is so that you can actually bring it into physical being in your life.
So when you were, let's say, gifted this, or did you go through some trainings, or how did you come about with this? Because, we've had lots of people on here talk about Akashic records, and, you go back into that, and that's supposed to be, I'm not going to say that it is or it isn't, because I'm not going to lay judgment, what people's history is, and so this is a bit, when you talk about it, maybe ethereal to some of these people that are out there listening, going, okay, Laurie, tell me a little bit more about this.
Okay.
How did you get where you are?
This is still going to probably sound ethereal to a lot of people. However, I work with initiations, the process of initiation, and that is how I received this capacity, is that I was initiated. And over a series of time, I was initiated in deeper and deeper levels of this. And what initiation really is that kind of quantum leap that is enabled to take place within your physical and energetic body, so that you get opened up to these new dimensions or new frequencies. We know about frequencies, we know about vibration, and we say, well, if you're a low vibration, you get sick, you feel depressed, you're struggling. But, you just have to think differently and your vibration elevates. And that's true. And there's more. And that when you receive an initiation, what is happening is that there are openings, really, they're happening within your cell that activate these systems that are already in place within you. This isn't about implanting something new. It's really about activation.
I'm as you're speaking, I'm reflecting back to a conversation with Bruce Lipton. And again, around quantum.
Yes.
The quantum, how you want to call it? Quantum physics. How about that? That works. And that, and another one I had with a very famous doctor around, you say openings, and you look at people's health and their issues that they have and what they manifest with inside themselves, and that they don't have to accept that. That is, in other words, the power that we have. We're speaking about power. Now, these are physicians. These are people that became MDs, right? So they're saying, that beyond pills and potions is this energetic ability to overcome so much. Now, on your website, you speak about the Baca Institute core operating principles. If you would, speak to the audience about those principles and how they can use them in the quantum connection style. So hopefully I teed that up with Bruce Lipton and the other doctor.
Well, the quantum connection style, just to take the second piece of that, is really about the fact that each of us have our own unique ways of interacting with the world and interacting with what I see as our own quantum connection, the way in which we interact with life. So there's a great quiz on my website about, seeing what your quantum connection style is.
I saw that. So if they take that, they'll get back some feedback on their quantum connection style. And then if they have more questions, then they can contact you, right?
Yeah, they can have a quantum connection call with me that is complimentary.
Okay.
But it gives them what they'll get, though, is they'll get what their style is, they'll get their mastery key, they'll receive, what am I needing to actually develop more in myself so that I can become that master in my own life. And the core operating principles for the Baca Institute relate to all of that, that we actually have an innate intelligence. And that is not just a metaphor. You know, we think of inner compass. Oh, that's a metaphor. We actually have this ability that every cell in our body has this intrinsic knowing. It's beyond intuition. And it's that intelligence that's contained throughout your body in every cell. We have the capacity to tap into our creative genius, that each of us have that, and that learning how to access that, learning how to create with this energetic source, with this higher intelligence, if you will, it gives us our ability to be able to navigate through life. Life happens, you know, life is going on all the time.
Well, you did say, you said that everything is energy. Energy is vibration.
Mhm.
Everybody vibrates at a different level, vibratory kind of attunement.
Mhm.
The higher you go on the scale of vibration, the higher the level of the consciousness is.
And the better your health is.
I remember a workshop I went to, Power versus Force.
Mm.
And, the interesting thing is that whether it's Ken Wilber on Lines and Levels, or
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember that gentleman's name, but he became very famous on Power versus Force. That, you could look at the Dalai Lama vibrating up here,
Mhm.
many masters, right? And again, when you usually see these masters, whether it's Gandhi or the Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa or whoever you want to say, the vibratory levels are quantum in comparison to the average people down here, right?
Yes.
And so you're actually helping people elevate that. Is
Yes.
that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
All right. Their own vibration in every cell of their body to
Yeah.
actually be more in tune with this quantum force.
Yes. So that then they start attracting to them because they have that integrity of heart.
Mm-hmm.
They have that joy in their own heart, and they're really tapping into. I mean, it's just something that I know is true, is that everything is love. that high vibration is really that vibration of love, and that when we tap into that, when we become that, we're not passive. We become an active co-creator with the universe, and that's part of my own core operating principle.
Can everybody, in your estimation, you've led thousands of people through these courses and done lots of one-on-one coachings. Are they at a space where they know how to accept it?
Not to begin with necessarily, but so many of the people come to me with that sensing of, I know there's more. And this was true for me in my own life. That's what propelled me. It propelled me to first study psychology. I know there's more. What I'm seeing in my family, that's not all there is. And I didn't know how to find it. So psychology was the natural way that I saw, at least in my own limited ways,
Right.
of tapping into that. So I became a psychotherapist. I studied psychology. I studied human design. I studied how we work. But that kept going on, and I kept going on to look more and more deeply at, who are we? What's our potential? And so often the people that come to me just have that feeling. They don't know how to tap into it. They don't know how to get to it, but they know that there's something more. And it's almost like life won't let them relax, and just say, oh, well, yeah, that's all well and good. It propels them to keep looking.
That's a good explanation of it. Now, you state that you were gifted by the universe with this unique package, and I would agree with that. What advice can you give our listeners with the same gift to see that a vision is often far bigger than they expect? In other words, I think, it's saying, do I go grab for the brass ring? Or do I have these fears and inhibitions that hold me back from taking that risk? And it is about the aversion to risk, which is has been programmed inside of them. And I wouldn't say if you're going to do your work that you can be risk adverse, because you're going to have things happen to you. And what I understand that probably you have to be very open to, right? So my question is how do you get, or do you work with your people to look at this grander vision, far grander than they ever expected, to attract into their life, and help them manifest that?
Absolutely. Because it's not that people don't have that big vision already, you know, somewhere that's there inside of them. And they haven't yet perhaps come into that place where they trust it or believe it. And then the other piece of that is knowing then how do you hang out with that? You know, how do you get to know it? And that's part of what I think is so important, is getting to realize that, yeah, this is a big vision, but you don't go so far down the road in your thoughts, like, how am I going to do it? What's it going to mean? Do I have to leave my spouse? You know, all those things might happen, but we don't have to put our head down there. We have to stay with where we are right now and continue to develop that inner connection, because that inner connection of we could call it self with self, is what's going to carry you through so that you aren't so scared. You develop the ability to quantum think, as my friend Diane Collins loves to talk about. She's brilliant at it. And it's the willingness to step into and be curious about, oh, who am I more, you know, to be in this moreness place.
Yeah, I'd recommend, she was on the show, and her book, Quantum Thinking, is that the same one? Yeah,
yes.
It's been a while ago, but I would reference my listeners who listening to my podcast might want to go back and listen to Quantum Thinking podcast. It was really quite interesting.
She's great. She's great. I've interviewed her too.
So, you know, you speak about the 5 elements of co-creation. Can you share those with our listeners, and how powerful they are in creating the foundation to bringing, and I just said this a minute ago, you know, on one end of the continuum, we've got regrets, and on the other end, we're looking for purpose and meaning and joy and happiness. And in your case, the foundation to bring purpose into implementation, because we're saying, what is the grander, bigger purpose for our lives? And I think many people go through their lives seeking that purpose, maybe never understanding it. Many go through, as has been many times said, this quiet life of desperation, right? Seeking something, not knowing what it is and not finding it. How do you help people find that purpose through these 5 elements of co-creation?
Purpose is not a one and done kind of thing.
Right.
Purpose evolves over time, and we don't just have one purpose. So that's first of all. So my work is I start people out with the Inner Guidance Mastery Blueprint class, and that develops that inner connection, that ability to tune into one's own inner guidance system. And
they can learn more about that on your website too.
Oh,
they
yes.
can click the button on that. And I would say for everybody that that Mastery Blueprint course that's your starting point with you, right?
It is. You know, once they have a quantum connection call with me, that's the first step that I guide people to.
Great.
And it's the first part of the quantum connection process, because the whole process is about the wiring that connects you with this field of creative intelligence. We hear about emotional intelligence. We hear about all sorts of things, but that field of creative intelligence is that quantum field. And so that our vibrational frequency that we've been talking about is continually upgraded. It's not a one and done thing. Oh, now I'm at a high level or high vibration and I can relax here, because nature is not static. So if we're going to continue to be evolving, and we are by our nature, we have to continue that process and our vibration is continually upgraded.
Right.
And so that energetic frequency is what gives birth to the new ideas that we want to bring forth into the world. And we have to have that ongoing connection and communication with our inner compass in order for that to happen. So that we don't just receive an idea and say, okay, I've been inspired. You know, people talk about, I downloaded this idea, I received this idea. Okay, does that mean you're done with staying connected with your own inner guidance system? No, because your inner guidance system, and this goes to the work of my Inspiration into Action course or retreat, it's about bringing that idea into manifestation and staying connected with what gave birth to that idea, that original interconnection and spark of brilliance.
And I think if
for all the steps,
for all the skeptics that might be thinking about, you know, what is Laurie
do you have
saying?
skeptics in your audience?
I would think there are some. And if you are listening and you are a skeptic, I would just reference you to maybe read some of Albert Einstein's, one of the greatest scientists around, who had this perspective, or David Bohm. You know, there are lots of people out there who were very famous scientists who put these laws into practice. Many doctors. So it isn't so ethereal when you look at what was created as a result of them having an expansion of their own consciousness to be able to create what they created. And every probably great scientist around had some perspective. I know there's been many out there that say, no, I don't believe in this stuff. And, you know, this is my material world, and that's where I stay.
But it's been demonstrated, hasn't it, Greg?
It has been demonstrated over and over. And I think that's the important point. Now, if you would, you have this quantum co-creation program. And why do you call it that? And it's the most accelerated path to your calling's fulfillment, you say. So tell us a little bit about the quantum co-creation program. You just talked about the blueprint program. So is this another program that's up from the blueprint program?
So people start out, unless they're working with me one-on-one, people say, nope, I'm not waiting around for, you know, the next time you do this, I want to dive into a one-on-one. So that we're going to take that off the table. So they start with that inner guidance mastery blueprint. Then they go into inspiration into action. That's that next level where they're actually being initiated into these frequencies and being able then to take their inspiration into action, into physical manifestation. Then the next piece, and this is by invitation only, is the quantum connection process. It's a 6-month program. And what I mean by co-creation is 2 directions. I mean, co-creating with that quantum field. We can say with presence, with the energies. We can talk about it in so many different ways. So that's this connection. And then it's the co-creation that happens when you're there with a group of visionaries, with a group of people that are also there in that inner co-creation connection, and what happens amongst them, because it's so exciting to see a group of people that are in that space. And so one person is saying, now this is what I'm working on. And everybody else starts coming from their own perspective, but they're coming not from an intellectual, here's what I've done before kind of place. They're bringing that in because that's part of your package, but they're bringing that in and they're bringing in their unique connection with that quantum field. And they're able to add that into the mix. And so sometimes what starts to happen in these gatherings are that people come together with a new idea. Like, oh, I hadn't thought about, we can do that plus this, and you and I can work together, and we've got something brand new that we're creating.
Well, I see why it's by invitation, because you're basically tracking the individual's progress, and you want to determine how ready they are.
Yes.
So if there was like a readiness assessment. So let's encourage the listeners to go to your website and take the quiz and get the result. I think that would be the best thing. There's a button right there on the website. All they have to do is click it, and then you'll get your results back from Laurie, and then reach out to Laurie for, it's a complimentary consult with you. Okay. So you guys can read it together, understand it better. She understands you, understands where you are. I haven't even taken it, so now I'm going to take it. That's good. So,
Ray, what's wrong?
So I would say this in wrapping this podcast up, Laurie, you obviously have lots of skills, lots of talents, lots of abilities. You have most of this through these courses, which you offer to people, and coaching, which you're offering to people. If there was a way for you to sum up 3 things that a listener today would take away from this and understand better about the quantum field or quantum exploration, what might that be?
One is that all of this requires your participation. In other words, this is not a passive journey. It's not a passive process. That is, so I'm a meditation teacher too. And with one of the things I do is Turiya meditation. And that requires your presence, your engagement. So this is something where you don't get to sit on the sidelines. So that's one. That there's always more. There's always more. And so we don't get to just sit with, I've made it. You know, I've gotten to the top of the mountain. You still got to get back down the mountain, right? Because you were in your work with Bo's book. That's a big piece of the whole process. Not so much getting down the mountain, but you have a brilliant idea. How do we bring it into the world? There's such demand right now in the world. We look around. We just have to, pay attention for a moment, and we see the need that is here. And I really want to say to all of the listeners, your contribution, your brilliant idea, your heart is what is needed. And so remember that, allow that, and allow yourself to receive, because it takes a different kind of attitude than pushing. It takes your willingness to receive something new, something brand new, and to know that you're the one that is here to bring this into being.
Well, I think you used a couple of words in that. One of them I thought I heard, I want to make sure I'm right, is this interconnectedness. I go to meditation retreats usually every August for 7 days on the Orcas Islands, and in the process emerged from that understanding about all our connections. When I say all our connections, I think, Laurie, the key is how you're going to contribute to the world is by fundamentally the compassion and love. You said it earlier, that you're going to be willing to give and receive, and how much you're going to be willing to let go. And that's not me speaking, that's the Dalai Lama. On the other sense, every connection you make throughout the course of your lifetime has an impact in some way, in some meaningful way. A kind word, a kind deed, a kind thought, an opportunity to reach out, an opportunity to collaborate on a project which could assist not only you, but thousands, maybe millions of other people in their life. That's how we're going to heal the planet, both all the way from the environment, all the way up to, CO2 emissions, to everything else that's going on. And it's about our deeper understanding of this deep interconnection. And as Laurie says, it's quantum. So, that is, I think Mother Earth speaking with us, saying, everybody, listen carefully, in silence, wake up and listen.
Get
Wake
quiet,
up and
wake
listen.
up.
Get quiet and wake up. And it's a pleasure having you on, because I believe that what you're doing at the Baca Institute is good work, and it's work that's going to help people awaken to not only their possibilities, but the possibilities of making a huge impact on our planet today in any way, that shape and form that they can. So, Laurie, blessings to you. Namaste to you. Thank you for being on Inside Personal Growth, spending a few minutes with our listeners and getting them to understand more about you and the Baca Institute. When you go to her website as well, she has Wisdom Talk Radio. If you click to the right-hand side of her landing page, or I should say her website, you'll see some of the interviews she's done with various people over the time on Wisdom Talk Radio. And Laurie, thanks for being on. Thanks for being my guest. And thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me on, Greg. It's been an honor.